I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're diving into the political and social issues dividing America with a terrific author, one of my favorite guests. His name is Ronald Alfred Weitzman, and he has penned a powerful book. It is called Chairman Biden and Dr. Fauci's Monster. This provocative book tackles key topics like the pandemic, the 2020 election, and the role of government in issues such as abortion and climate change. Through a critical lens, the author offers his perspective on the current political landscape and why he believes these issues are shaping the future of our country. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his important book. The links are below this interview. Ron, good to see you here today on Spotlight.
Good to see you too again.
Great to have you back on the show. We have an important election coming up in just weeks. What's your prediction?
My prediction, of course, is that Donald Trump is going to win in a landslide.
It's an important victory if he wins. Do you think it'll help change the course of America if Donald Trump gets back in the White House?
I think it'll make all the difference in the world.
It's been a tough 4 years under Chairman Biden, as you call him. Tell us a little bit about your book and why you wrote it.
Well, originally I was upset about the image of the so-called ramp people that was coming out of the Democratic Party. It was unfortunate that they should take half the population and denigrate it to the extent that they did, calling them super over religious, too much affiliated with the National Rifle Association, that sort of thing. It's a terrible negative stereotype, and I felt that I was a charter member of Hillary's basket of deplorables, and I thought I'd write my book to show that there are other types of people that are MAGA people from the types that they were stereotyping. So that was a major one. The second one is I had thought a lot about the issues, and I thought many of the issues should not have been issues or distorted from reality. And one of them being, of course, abortion. And that was one of my original motivations, that global warming is another. And then I had I thought it was very important to distinguish what morality meant to the two different parties, because that was a big difference. That the party on the left was concerned about outcome, and the party on the right was concerned about the journey to get to the outcome, whether it's the right or wrong route. And what trouble is when you're concerned about the outcome, you could let the end justify the means, and the means, of course, are right versus wrong. You could take the wrong way or the right way, and I think the Democratic Party recently, in the past 4 years, has gone off the deep end on the wrong side in order to get to the means, to the end that they think are the country should be headed toward. So that's the difficulty when your moral compass is directed to good versus evil rather than right versus wrong. They both have to be in balance, and they're not. And the Republican Party is strongly concerned with right versus wrong. But the Democratic Party is afraid that if you do that, you won't guarantee your outcome. And they want a guaranteed good outcome, and they're willing to sacrifice the means to achieve their ends. And that they've gone too far now. They've gone over the deep end. And the country needs to reverse its course.
Yeah.
Put the two in balance.
You take aim at the media in your book. Tell us a little bit about how the media influences public perception on issues such as global warming, for example.
Well, the media, is heavily balanced, unbalanced in the direction of the Democrats, and they've taken up the issue of global warming as though the original sin was fossil fuels, and with the same religious fervor of original sin. And they've exploited the tendency of human beings to feel guilty about their not responding to natural instincts, which we feel very, very lightly relative to what other animals feel, who respond almost reflexively to their instincts. We don't, and so we feel guilty about that. We're social animals, and to the extent that we behave unsocially, we feel guilty, selfishly. So, anyway, when it comes to global warming, there are a number of issues. There's the guilt feeling there, that motivates a lot of people to be unreasonable, to be a little bit more romantic than rational about it. And the climatologists are largely to blame for that, because they're riding this wave of popularity in being the people showing the wrongness of our ways with respect to the climate, and they themselves have committed serious statistical errors in their predictions. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit, because I'm a statistician, and I'll try to be as clear as I can and as simple as I can. But the climatologists use a model that simply divides a measurement, and the measurement that they're concerned about, of course, is global warming, the mean global temperature, and say daylight temperature. And the model divides the measurement into two components. The measurement they're trying to predict, the global temperature in different parts of the world. They want to look at the average of it over all the world. So they predict it in different parts of the world using the temperature there to predict, and using certain conditions that are related to temperature to predict it. One of them being the amount of carbon dioxide in the air, which is supposed to fill holes that water vapor doesn't have. Water vapor keeps the world warm at night and has certain holes in it that carbon dioxide fills to keep it warmer at night. And that leads to global warming, according to the climatologists. On the other hand, there are other conditions like aerosols, like smoke and fog, or smog and fog, that cool the temperature because they reflect the sun and keep it from warming during the daytime. Well, what they do is they have a model that's supposed to use those things like aerosols, the amount of aerosols, which has a negative effect on warming, and the carbon dioxide, which has a positive effect. And they use a model developed by statisticians that weight those two effects so as to indicate their relative relationship to temperature, global temperature. And the model that they use when they use the weights that statisticians have provided doesn't predict high enough temperature that they think it should with the amount of carbon dioxide in the air. So they start altering other variable like aerosols, which lower the temperature, and they give it less weight in order to give to get the result for carbon dioxide they want by increasing its relative influence, without changing the weights of the model which the statisticians provided. And they do that by lowering the amount of estimated aerosol in the air to give it less influence in the negative way, which allows the predictions to go higher. So what they do is they alter the variable like aerosol, and when they when they bring the errors closer to zero by doing that, they move the predictions in the opposite direction. So when the when the so when the temperature is rising, the predictions rise even faster. When the temperature is falling, the predictions fall even faster. In other words, the negative correlation they create between the two portions, the predicted portion and the error portion of their measurement, creates this exaggeration of predictions. So they're predicting climate twice as high as it's actually getting warmer. So at least
Being
twice as high.
distorted, we're not getting the real picture. People's fears are being preyed upon, and this is another issue that's being used to divide America, right?
And the other thing I want to say about that is during the beginning of the 1900s, for 40 years, the temperature went up to the same extent it's going up now, and that was before we had carbon dioxide emissions to the extent that we do now from fossil fuels. So it's more likely that what we're seeing now in the rise of global temperatures is a natural phenomenon. For example, 80% of our volcanoes are under the ocean, and it's volcanic activity that can affect the course of ocean currents. So we all know, that they affect the climate, like the El Nino or La Nina, directly related to the course that ocean currents take. And volcanic activity under the water could do that. So I think we're assuming too much, as we do all the time, too much influence of our own behavior on the effect it has on our behavior in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Before we leave you today, just want to ask you, what do you hope people at home who purchase your book learn from it?
okay, well, they could take away from the book that certain issues like abortion are really non-issues, that global warming is a non-issue. It should not be a political issue. It should not have been politicized. The politics have affected the science rather than the opposite direction. And let me get into the abortion issue, why I think it's important that it should not be a political issue. The court, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, it depended on the 10th Amendment, which essentially says that the power that the power that that no power that the Constitution gives to the Congress, that the power that the Constitution does not give to the Congress, unless it's prohibited to the states, is reserved for the states or to the people. It's essentially what it says. And the Supreme Court used that to overturn Roe versus Wade because the Constitution in no place gives the power to Congress to regulate abortion. But there's what it says, though, specifically the 10th Amendment, is that the power to regulate abortion, or any power that's not delegated by to the United States by the Constitution, or prohibited to it by the states, is reserved for the states or the people. Well, in the Constitution, abortion is prohibited by the to the Congress, because the very first amendment says Congress shall make no law affecting the establishment of a religion or the free exercise thereof. Well, there is a religion in our country different from Christianity or Islam. It's the Jewish religion, for which abortion for which a fetus is considered not to be ensouled or alive or a human being until it takes its first breath. And that's directly from the Bible, from the Old Testament, in Genesis 2:7, which says that then God took from the dust of the ground and created the man from the dust from the ground, and breathing the breath of life into his nostrils, created a living human being. So the human being wasn't alive to it according to Jewish law and Jewish religion, according to the Bible, until it takes its first breath.
Exactly. And it's an issue that's just being used once again to divide people, to conquer certain groups, and to manipulate elections. I fully agree with you. The name of the book is Chairman Biden and Dr. Fauci's Monster. It is a provocative book. In it, the author tackles tough topics, important topics, such as the pandemic, the 2020 election, and the role of government in controversial issues that divide us, such as abortion and climate change. Ron, thank you for joining me here today on Spotlight.
Well, thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time and your insight, sir. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.
Thank you.